That's all the things that you need to do to be ready for Friday. But then when Friday comes, January 1st gets here, staff should be checking in using their mobile device. So that's the number one option. An Android, an iPhone, a tablet that has the Therap mobile app installed. And they will need their login information. So if you have not provided them with their login name, their temporary password, and their provider code, they will need all three pieces of that data to log in on beginning the 1st. What we recommend is to use self-check-in. That allows the user to check in when they arrive and check out when they leave. There is an option to schedule. So if you want to create the schedules for your staff so that they just see them and check in, that is also an option. It is going to put some more work on you to populate those schedules ahead of January 1. So what happens if you don't have any Wi-Fi? If you're using the mobile device, we have an offline option. So you can check in from your mobile device on the Therap mobile application using the offline version. So this is, I'm going to provide a service in an area where there is no cellular data, there is no internet connection, so I need to check in offline. And we can go in and show more information about that if that's appropriate for anybody on the call. We have a lot of support materials, user guides, and videos on these steps as well, so I'll direct you to those. Another option for North Dakota aging providers in areas where you don't have internet, you don't have cell service, maybe you don't even have a user that's got technology to be able to enter that on their mobile device. There is a fixed device, and this is a small device about life size on the screen, and it generates an 8-digit code every time you push that power button. And that's a time sensitive code. It only shows up on the screen for so long. And when you generate that code, it includes the date, the time stamp, and the location of where that device is set up. So you would request one of these devices, have it set up in the home of the service recipient, and then the staff would push that button when they go in and get an 8-digit code. They need to document that on maybe a timesheet or some other way to keep track of that code. And then they'll do the same thing when they check out. They'll put their code, get their code. So then either that user themselves can enter it, or maybe they come to the office and bring their timesheet with all of their codes, and someone at the office enters it for them. Either way, you have to have the code. So making sure that the device is in a place where staff can find it, that they know how to push that button and get the code and document that. So that can be done from a mobile device if they have it on their own, or from a computer if you are entering that for them or they're doing it from a computer. So there is a process if you're interested in doing that. You would need to contact the state at this email address and begin that process to request that. It does need to be approved by the service recipient, so there's a form to have them, verify that they're authorizing that before you can move forward in that process. One other check-in option, and then I'm about to ask you a question to tell me what you plan to use, so be thinking about it, is this telephone call-in option. This is probably the option with the least amount of EVV validity. It doesn't actually give you an address or a location. It only gives you a phone number. So this would be, again, if you can't use the mobile device, you can't use the offline mobile app, you can't use the fixed device, here's one other option. So I'm gonna go into my browser just since I'm here and show you how a staff could do a web check-in. So remember, that was one of those settings that we chose down here under Provider Manage. We enabled web check-in and we enabled location for web check-in. So if you have a user that needs to check in and out from a computer, they would log into Therap from their browser, and under their dashboard on the right-hand side, we've got Schedule, and I'm going to click View Check-in. So this is going to show me the current date and anything that I have scheduled already. So I have something that's been scheduled for me to start, um, to have started at 2 o'clock. So if you have scheduled something in advance, this is how it would appear, and the staff could just double click and come to check in on that. If you're not scheduling ahead of time and you just want staff to use self check-in, they're not going to see anything on their schedule, and they would just use the self check-in button. It takes the date and time. You choose which person you're supporting. I need to choose which program, and you should just have one there. And then which service. So these are going to show all those service authorizations that you acknowledged. These are also showing you the service codes that you've assigned to that staff person. So because I'm already here, if I don't have Homemaker assigned on my staff setup, I won't be able to see it. So it all goes back to that setup piece if you're having an issue with the service not showing up. If there's another reason a service might not show up is if you haven't acknowledged the authorization yet. All right, so I'm going to choose my service here, and it defaults to billable. If I need to, I could leave a comment. If I'm checking in from the web, I can use that check-in option. If this is when I'm using a fixed device, then this is when I would select that location. So it might say, Virginia's home. What's the date of that visit, and what's my code? I'm just going to do a web check-in to show you that. All right, so my check-in has been successful. It now appears under that already scheduled visit, but it's a different color. It's this orange color. And up at the top left, you can see what those color codes are about. So orange is incomplete. Anything that's orange has not been checked out for. So if you have staff that are going to be checking in and out from a computer, this would be their workflow. They would use that self check-in, and then once they're ready to check out, they would just double click and scroll down to check out. Not everybody's going to see this FVV device. That's only if you've gotten that set up. All right, let's switch over if you're ready for that, Rich. Let's get you to show from the mobile device. And I see your phone, so if you just give me the go ahead, I'll make your phone presenter. And once we're ready to do that, if Rich is going to demonstrate how easy that self check-in is for your staff, and then we'll come look at how you edit that data or review that data. I also want to talk to you about how do you change people's passwords, because that's probably going to be one thing that comes up, is that users forget their passwords. And we want to make sure you're ready for that. So trying to think through all the questions that are going to come up on January 1st, just know that there are going to be things that you need assistance with, and we're going to be here to help you with that. So we're going to have these webinars. We've got an email address where you can contact us, and we're going to be here to assist to make sure that you all are successful with that EVV. All right, I am curious to know, I've got another question for you, so take a look at your device, and I'm putting up a question for you. How do you plan to use the module in terms of scheduling? Are you just going to use self check-in, so your users create their own visit when they arrive? Or do you want to schedule ahead of time, letting staff see what they have planned? That also makes it available to use the offline application. So this will let us know how detailed to go into these areas for our call today. and I appreciate you taking the time to respond. Looks like we have a little over half of you responding. And Rich, are you still with us?
I am.
Awesome. I'm going to hand it over to you after this poll to your mobile device. You want me to just make your device the presenter?
Yes, please.
Okay, and here's those results. Thanks for everybody who participated. Most of you are using self-check-in, which I think is the fastest and easiest way to get started. But we will look at the scheduling ahead of time for those of you that are interested. All righty. So let's take a look at that on Rich's phone. I can see that now. Thanks.
Sure. So let me just real quick, in case this hasn't been done yet on your side, it does look like most folks are going to use self check-in. So I'll try to spend some time on that. But also the pre-scheduling and how staff are going to check in and out for those things. But if you're using Android devices, you go to the Google Play Store, search for Therap. It'll be there. Download it, free download, and that icon will show up on the phone. You use an Apple, an iPhone, same thing. App Store, look for it, do a search for Therap, and it'll be there. Download it, again, free download. Once you do that, if you can see this, that bottom one there, that's what the icon will look like for you. But I have already logged into mine. So when you go to use the mobile app, once you open that up, there's a scheduling/EVV, and your staff are going to log in just like they would on the website. So same login name you gave them, same password they created after they go in the first time, and same provider code. Once they log in, they're going to come to this page. This is the mobile app. So as you can tell, limited to what's there. And actually for you all, that scheduling EVV, offline EVV configuration, for staff, that's all they'll be able to use. So I know there are other things there, but those things were not requested by the state. Those things were not turned on. So those things are not available. But checking in, checking out, EVV, what I would do if I was staff, I'm just going to show you real quick pre-schedule. So if you're scheduling centrally, scheduling there at the office, so you have a person who's creating all those schedules, what staff will do when they show up to work is they're going to log in, they're going to touch that scheduling/EVV. And then once they get here, if it is pre-scheduled, that will be listed here. And if you're pre-scheduling and they're working with 2 or 3 people today, they'll see all of them there. And they'll see them with the start time. So I'm going to use that middle one. Virginia did a session this morning, so I've already checked in, checked out. But if it's pre-scheduled and it's here, all staff need to do is when they get there to provide the service, they're going to take that schedule that's been pre-scheduled and they're going to swipe that, hold it and swipe it left. And that's going to check them in. If you are using an FEV device, you will come across this. It's just asking what type of device I'm going to be using. So I selected mobile because I'm using my cell phone. It's going to GPS where staff are. And this is a question I get from providers there. Well, what if they go, I put in my schedule their home address, but what if they got a call earlier in the day and they're going to pick them up at the mall? Still going to GPS that site. They'll still be able to check in and you'll see that they were at the mall and they were where they needed to be. So you'll see this is yes. It's done my geolocation. That is my house, so that's where I am. Comes pretty close on the phone. Sometimes it might be a little off, so you might see it a little right or left sometimes. And sometimes when I do a web check-in, it puts me out there in the ocean about 100 feet, 200 feet. But it's close. So I am where I need to be. I would click that check-in. Now, one of the things about pre-scheduling, the schedule, I was supposed to be at this house to work with this person. I was supposed to be there at 12, but it's 3:46 now, and that could be for any reason. Person called and said, hey, can you not come at 12, come at 3:45 or whatever. What staff will need to do is, because they're going to get an error message, so this is telling me please correct the errors, anything 15 minutes before or after outside of that schedule. So, I had up to 12:15 to check in. I'm, 2.5 hours after that. So I just have to write a comment. Person called me earlier, wanted me to come at 3:45. So they would just need to put some kind of comment there to explain that. They just have to put something in. Once they put something in there, they hit the check mark, they have checked in. And at the bottom, it says successful. So they'll go in, they'll provide the service, and do what they need to do. When they're finished and they're getting ready to leave and they're going to check out, trying to stall a little bit, will let me check out within a minute. But once you go to check out, same thing. Staff will just swipe left, and you'll see now it says check out because I've already checked in. So I'm holding and swiping left, and I'm checking out. So when you're checking out, it's always going to give you this attestation. If there is documentation available to support this visit, any edits made to the data, and I understand that somebody can come and audit it. When staff select yes, again, I'm going to select mobile. Now I come to same screen, wants me to confirm that's where I am. Now, Stephanie talked about it earlier. If you checked yes in that travel distance, and you want staff are doing a little bit of driving and you're going to reimburse them and you want them to put in there how many miles they drove, you can certainly do that. If you do not check that because you don't want it, it won't be there. But if you did check it, it is going to show up on the checkout. I'm leaving late because I was supposed to finish at 3. So I know I'm going to have to write a comment, which is going to give me an error again. So once I write my comment, I'm going to hit that check at the top to check out, and I'm done. And you'll notice also between the time and the person, there's a color coding there. It's just like it is on the web. When you're creating schedule, green means it's complete. Staff checked in, checked out. Blue means we haven't checked in yet or checked out. Orange means something's missing. Checked in, haven't checked out. So either I forgot or I'm still working. So that's your pre-schedule check-in, check-out. Is kind of easy for staff. They're just swiping to check in, confirm address, swiping to check out. So I'm going to show you now that self-check-in. So it looked like from the polls, a lot of folks are using the self-check-in. So I'll try to go a little bit slower. Please, please, please shoot some questions. Let me know if I'm going too fast or if you have any questions about this self-check-in. That being said, staff are doing a self-check-in. They're going to do it just like I showed you before. They're going to log in like they normally would. They're going to come to this page. They're going to hit that scheduling/EVV. And if they're using self-check-in, this is their first spot. There's not going to be anything here on this agenda list because they haven't checked in yet and you didn't pre-schedule or they didn't pre-schedule. So at the bottom of this screen is an orange link that says self-check-in. So as staff, what I'm going to do, when I get to the site, I'm basically creating my schedule for the day, creating my check-in. So I'm going to go down to the bottom before I get started, and I'm going to hit that self-check-in. So since they're creating the self-check-in, they have to define who they're working with and what they're doing, right? Because that has to be on EVV. We talked about it. You have to have the program. You have to have the service auths. So in order for them to check in, they have to define exactly what they're doing. So if they select that individual line, it's going to give them a list of people on their caseload. So a list of folks in that program. So if I'm working with, let's say I'm checking in and working with Virginia Black, who's about halfway down that screen. Oh, I picked the wrong person. Sorry. Virginia Black. So I've got Virginia. Then I go to program. Now, most, if not all of you, probably have one program. So not going to be hard for staff. There's only going to be one there. So they're going to touch that program. So now that it knows the individual, the program, now it's going to be able to pull those service authorizations that you all have acknowledged so that the staff can select that service authorization and that service they're about to provide. So real quick, I get this phone call, and I'm sure Stephanie does a lot too. Hey, my staff went to do a self-check-in, and when they hit service, nothing was there. Check the service authorization. If that hasn't been acknowledged, that's probably why. So you acknowledge it, it'll be here, okay? So that has to be done before the 1st if your staff are going to check in, self-check-in on the 1st or 2nd. So for Virginia in that like family program, here are all of her approved current service authorization. So let's say I'm doing homemaker. I'm going to select homemaker. So now I've got those 3 things selected. Person, program, there's the service I'm providing. So I'm already meeting all of those requirements in the for North Dakota and the feds. So once I do that, I've defined all that. Up at the top right is next. Now it kind of turns into what we were doing before. So I'm going to select mobile. It wants me to confirm. That's where I am. Now I don't have to worry about checking in late because there's no schedule. So it's clocking me in right now. So that's the time it's going to use. But I can write a comment if I want. If I picked them up somewhere else, maybe staff need to write a comment so you all know this is why I'm not at Virginia's house. So they could write that comment. I'm not going to write a comment. I'm at Virginia's house. I'm going to go to the top. I'm going to hit that check mark. Now I'm in. So there's that Virginia Black self-check-in. It's at 3:53 because that was the exact time I hit that check mark. Also, you'll see the line between the time and name with Virginia is orange. Again, orange means incomplete, haven't checked out. So not really important at this point, but if I'm working with multiple people and I get to my next site and I look up at Virginia and it's still orange, I'm going to realize I forgot to check out. So staff can go back into it and write a note so you all can edit it, write a comment that forgot to check out, checked out at 4:30 or 5:30. Okay, so just one of those things that you may want to talk to staff about, that if they see that and they should have checked out, that means they did. So I'm providing my service, that homemaker service for Virginia. I'm done with that service. So with Virginia, I'm getting ready to check out. I'm gonna log in. I'm gonna come here, and just like we did before, it is a swipe left. So I'm gonna hold and swipe it left. There's that same attestation. I'm gonna select mobile because I'm on my mobile app. If I need to put travel distance, I can. If I need to write a comment, I can. Don't have to. That is where I am. So I'm gonna go up here. I'm gonna hit the check mark. Now I'm out. So the checkout is easy. And I think the check-in fairly easy as well. They just have to select those 3 things. So that's your self-check-in. Do we have any questions about self-check-in?
I'm not seeing any, but please let us know if you have any. Self check-in is that putting it back on the user. So when they arrive after January 1st, they go to provide a service, they bring out their phone, they're going to click that self check-in and go through those prompts that Rich did, and then check out when they get ready to leave. And that's going to be required as of January 1st. So if they forget to check out, how do we correct it? Fantastic question, Lisa, because you know it's going to happen. And I'm going to show you that once we get back to the browser. It's something that you would edit as a scheduler or an admin user. And I'm going to take you through those steps. I did want Rich to show us the offline option just because there were some people who indicated they might be using that. So if you don't mind doing that for us, that'd be great.
Not at all. That's why I put that Amy Smith in there, so I could do an
Perfect.
offline.
Yeah.
So I want to do the offline. So offline, first of all, has to be pre-scheduled, right? So there's no way around that. So either you're going to show staff how to do that if you've allowed enable scheduling, or someone there with admin privileges, someone there at the central location is going to have to create that schedule. And I'll show you why in a second. Offline is the intent of offline is I go to someone's house to provide personal care. And I know when I get there, because I'm staff and I've been doing it for 5 years, when I go to Amy's house, I never get cell signal. I can walk around that house, I can stand on top of my car, hold my arm up, I'm not getting a signal. So they can still use their phone to check in and out, but you will pre-schedule it. And then what staff will do, there's a couple of ways to do it, but this is the easiest way to do it. You're going to pre-schedule, or again, if you want to show them how to do it, they can pre-schedule. What they're going to do before they get to that location, so maybe before they leave home, or they stop for a cup of coffee on the way there and they've got a cell signal, they're going to log into the account, and I'm using Amy Smith at the bottom here. They're going to see that schedule. That's the one they need to do the offline check-in because there's no signal there. So what staff are going to do is instead of swiping left, holding and swiping left, they're going to hold it and swipe right. So you'll see behind there, if I go right, it says add to offline. So I'm going to swipe right. At the bottom, it tells me has been added to offline. So basically what's happening is they're putting some basic information on that phone, no PHI. They don't have a lot of that personal information on their cell phone. They're basically just going to put in the time and date they checked in and out. So that's there. So now that's there, I'm going to show you one of the things that they have to do before they get there to do the offline check-in. Only have to do it once. So they could have already done it and they don't have to worry about this stuff. But if this is the first time they're doing it, they're going to need to do this step. So underneath that scheduling EVV is that offline EVV configuration. Sounds like there's a lot to do there because it's a configuration. It really isn't. They're just going to create a 6-number code. It's a PIN number because when they log in without a cell, they need to use a PIN number, not their password. So they're just going to set this up. Put in a 6-digit code. This is their PIN number. If it's the first time, it'll say set PIN. They can change it whenever they want. If they forgot what it was, they're doing another offline, they just hit that, come back in here and change it. I change it all the time because I change it for every demo. So now that's done. So now they're good. They're going to log out, or it's eventually going to log them out. When they get to the site, no cell signal. So they're going to have to log in using offline. Under that login button is a link that says switch to offline login. So they're going to hit that switch to offline login. It kind of looks the same, but it does say offline EVV login up top. They are going to use their same login name. That provider code on the bottom is the same, but instead of using their password, they're going to use that 6-digit code they just created so that they can get into that information. And then they're going to select offline login. And they will see that offline login here. You see it looks different. Don't have a whole lot of information. Again, we're not putting any information in here, no PHI on their phone. So what they're going to do is, this top one's the one I moved over. Hopefully they won't have 5 or 6 here. But so all they're going to do is, I'm here, I'm getting ready to provide services. I'm going to, well, no, I want to do that. I'm going to touch it. And it's asking me, am I checking in or checking out? I'm checking in because I just got here. Am I sure? Yes, I'm sure. Done. It time and date stamped it. So I'm in. I can log out, or it's going to eventually log me out, and I'm going to go provide the service, the personal care or whatever was pre-scheduled. When I'm done, I'm using that offline login again to log in with that 6-digit code PIN, doing the offline, coming in here, and I'm going to touch it again. Still going to get that same attestation. I know somebody's going to look at it. So I'm going to hit yes, I get that. Only gives me checkout because I've already checked in. And I've got the checkout now. So I have my time and date stamped for both. I'm done. The other way to do it, the reason why I say the other way is easy, the other way to do it is I could go down to the bottom, hit that add new slot. It's asking me for slot ID. I'm pulling that number, that 7-digit number, off the pre-schedule. So they're going to have to know that number to put it in here. And that slot ID number is that 7-digit number at the top of each of those boxes. So you could do it that way. Again, for me, I would think the swipe is the easiest way to do it. So I'm done. So I'm leaving the house. I'm headed home, or maybe I'm headed to the next one. But next time I need to log in, I'm not doing an offline. I'm just logging in to do another check-in. So I'm going to log in to my regular account because I'm getting ready to work with somebody else, and maybe I stopped on the way home for another cup of coffee, which would be me. I drink too much coffee, my wife tells me. So I'm logging in like I normally would. I'm logging in. And if I forgot, it's going to tell me, hey, you did an offline login. You need to upload that into the account so that we can hook that information to the schedule, to the EVV schedule. So all they have to do is hit that upload. This is just tell them it happened, not there yet. Might take up to 30 minutes. They'll click OK. Now it's going to grab that time in, time out, the date stamp. It's going to put it in the EVV schedule for check-in, check-out. But it's also going to grab the geolocation where they were. So it's going to grab their coordinates, because even though there was no cell signal, the phone's hooked to a satellite. So it is going to grab that information. That's kind of how 911 without a cell service works on cell phone. It's always hooked so 911 folks can still get the location. Same thing here. It's still grabbing a location. So when you're looking at that, or you want to edit it, or you're reviewing it, Stephanie's getting ready to show you here in 2 seconds, you'll see the coordinates in there because it still grabbed that even though they were offline.
Okay, I have one more question or request. Will you go in and just do a quick checkout on an existing schedule, but show what that fixed visit entry would look like?
Okay, hang on just a sec.
And it's okay if you don't have it set up to go all the way through. I know we're in a demo account, but
That's okay. I can do a quick self check-in. So in case you want to see self-check-in again, this is it. I just pick my person, I pick my program, I pick my, oh, who did I pick? Wrong person.
No service found. If you see that, that's when you got to go make sure that authorization's acknowledged.
Yep, correct. So there's services. I'm going to pick my services. I'm going to go to next. This time I'm going to hit the fixed visit verification device. So I have to select the device. So if you have multiple, you're going to see them all. If you only have the one, staff will select the one. And then that device, when they hit the power button, they're going to come in here and put that 8-digit code. This isn't connected to mine, so it's not going to work. But they're just going to put in that. It's going to give them that 8-digit one-time password that Stephanie showed you in the PowerPoint. So I did do the FEV. I have to pick the device that's fixed at that location. And when I push that first button, there's my check-in.
And you do, you do also have to put that, and you're getting an error for it. So you do have to get that date, because you could be doing a self check-in for a code from last month that you're entering. So you really do have to, when staff are doing fixed visit, you need to make sure that when they're recording it and keeping track of it, it includes the date, possibly even the service if the person has multiple services, because you need to know which they're checking in for, and then that code as well.